Tuesday night, and it's time for our Big 11:30 profile interview with the world's first male supermodel, David Gandy. Entered modelling after winning a competition on This Morning. He's since gone on to design ranges for Marks & Spencer and model for Dolce Gabbana. And in this wide-ranging interview, you'll hear his thoughts on how the upcoming EU referendum could affect Britain's multi-million-pound fashion industry, and how, as a budding young cricketer, his career could have taken a very different path. But first, he tells me about London Collections Men, which showcases the best in British men's fashion.
We now have LCM, which is London Collections Men, and London Collections Men is what I've been on the committee, and now I'm ambassador. So I've had our 8th season now.
Is that the thing that Dylan Jones from GQ runs?
That's the man. Dylan Jones is he started off, and so yes, that's in January and June. So that's really what I put all my time and effort into, an ambassador for that. So that is a very, very busy week for me. We're attending about sort of 60-odd shows and events and dinners. And then London Fashion Week is for the girls. And I don't have much to do with it. I'll go and support a couple of parties for the British Fashion Council. But no, I'll leave up to the girls on that one.
You have a lot of ambassadorial roles in your life, don't you?
It's something I've sort of, I think, we're sort of falling into in some ways. It's mostly the sort of charitable side that I'm ambassador for, and then of course LCM. So yeah, it's definitely something I've sort of progressed into.
Yeah. So Achievement for All is one that I wanted to talk to you about. Explain to people what this is. Achievement
for All. It's a charity started by Sonia Blanford, I think, in 2011. It aims really to sort of support the 1 in 5 children falling behind at school, which doesn't sound a terrible number at first, but then actually when you start putting in perspective of probably most classes might be 25 children, then you've got 5 children who are falling behind.
And the danger is that as those 5 children occupy the attention of the teacher, then perhaps the others who aren't falling behind can get less teaching time.
Yeah, so you with Achievement for All, you have direct contact with, over the last years, about 170,000 children have benefited directly. But actually, I think it's something like 1 million or 1.5 million children have benefited indirectly because of these children who are taken out, who have, might need sort of extra educational needs, who have come from disadvantaged backgrounds, and they are put into the Achievement for All program that's run by a number of coaches around the country, using teachers within the school. It's taken those 1 in 5 and really bespoking many, many different techniques, but getting the involvement of the teachers, getting the involvement of much more of the parents, and really seeing why they are falling behind. And it might be for many, many reasons.
And which one were you? Were you the 1 in 5 or the 4 in 5 that weren't?
I was probably lucky enough to be in the 4 out of 5, but I wasn't afraid to speak up. That was the difference.
Right.
And obviously I had my parents come in if there were any troubles or any problems. My parents weren't afraid to speak to the teachers in the schools and any concerns that we had. But a lot of children might not have the parental role that my parents did with me, and that's why Achievement for All works with the parents and the teachers and the student. For one example, there was I think a little guy who was falling behind, and they couldn't work out why. So they spoke to the parents and said, "Well, what's his biggest love?" And they said, "Fun enough, it's gardening." And he said, fine. So they literally tailor-made all his learning around gardening, from his maths and English. So if he wanted to write a story, it was about gardening. If it was to do with the maths, then they were talking about how many bulbs were planted, if none of them grew enough to... It engaged him, absolutely. They also set him up a garden within the school. What we're saying here is we're not pigeonholing anyone. That's the problem. Certain people from backgrounds get pigeonholed as soon as they're in a classroom in a school, and they fall behind constantly from primary school to secondary school, and that continues. With the literacy rate or literacy rates in prisons is very, very high. So they're saying that sort of continuing or sort of giving these children a better chance and saying you can do anything you like and giving them those educational needs they need actually benefits not just themselves, but also the government. Also, we've got such a problem with welfare and needs and prisons, and it actually reduces the amount of money that is actually spent in the future on these people. What they're actually finding is that once these 1 in 5 children that are taken out and put in the Achievement for All scheme actually leapfrogged their peers. So they from going from for the 1 in 5, and they actually leapfrogged the other children in school. And the results are sort of astounding.
And I wonder how much of that is down to someone, as you were just explaining, if there's not the parental role there that you had from perhaps your mum or your dad, is it that someone actually giving them self-belief for the first time?
Well, that's exactly it. It is that self-belief. You're saying you can do anything you want, you can be anything you want, instead of saying, well, you're from a disadvantaged background, you have extra educational needs, you're put into this pigeonhole of 1 in 5.
And are you saying that's not good enough? Are you saying for you, especially in this country, it should be 0 in 5? There should be no illiteracy. What are you saying?
Well, there shouldn't be, no. Not in the UK, I wouldn't have thought. Not in a developed country. I think 1 in 5. I say 1 in 5 doesn't sound too bad. You put it in a classroom and that's 5 children. I don't think that's good enough, personally.
There might be some people listening to this tonight on 5 Live, David, and they might be thinking, well, yeah, I've seen the billboards, I've seen his face, I've seen his pants. Why is he going to the Houses of Parliament? They might be baffled as to how you've got so interested in something so serious. Do you get that a lot?
I don't get that asked directly, because this is my 4th or 5th charity that I sort of help out in this way as ambassador. I think if you are in the public eye like I am and have a voice, and many people listen and are interested in what I'm doing, then I think you have that ability to get people involved, to raise money.
Maybe it's something to do with Zoolander doesn't help, does it? The perception of the male model. Do you know what I mean?
I think it was the perception of maybe the fashion industry as a whole, and sometimes. But what we're talking about here is we're talking about what I've been saying, we're pigeonholing or stereotyping certain children, and there we are, pigeonholing the fashion industry or male models, and I think people can do that with footballers, bankers, lawyers, models.
That's true.
So yes, of course, Zoolander is the extreme version, and it's very, very funny. Yeah. But yes, it doesn't always do us any favours. My
friend Peter said to check with you that you can't turn left.
We'll see when I turn out the studio. I might go the wrong
way. Talking to David Gandy tonight on 5 Live. Your world, modelling and fashion, have you had a moment to think how that might be affected by a potential Brexit?
I mean, if I'm honest, I'm still. We've got to sort of, in the referendum, we have to vote for this, and I was sort of talking to people today that. I don't think anyone's actually sort of simplified it for everyone to actually say these are the good points of why we should be in Europe. These are the bad points. These are the good points why we should leave, and these are the bad points. It's maybe someone needs to explain it in a very, very simple manner for people. Obviously, we've got Boris now who's up for the Brexit, but so yes, it's going to be difficult to decide which way to go, and I'm still very, very much undecided.
Explain to people how you got into this, because from what I was reading, it was your flatmates that are responsible now, aren't they, for your career?
Yes, it was a flatmate from university who put me in a competition on This Morning. Yeah. And it went from there. So that was 15 years ago now.
It's incredible, isn't it?
It's yes, it's an incredible time. It's gone very, very quickly. It would be interesting to know. If we did come out of the European Union, if how that would affect the fashion industry, how that would affect jobs. The fashion industry is something I support with LCM, and I'm ambassador for, and people sometimes question why I do that, or think that might be a bit strange. But it's I'm very proud of being British, and very proud of the fashion industry. That produces, I think, something like 700,000 jobs a year. It's worth nearly, the men's industry alone is worth 14 billion to the economy. So that is, a lot of that is probably going to be export. So it'd be very interesting to see how that was affected by staying in or leaving. So that's why I'm very, very, very proud, and that's why I am ambassador and try to push the fashion industry, because I think it's more important to the economy than people realise.
And is sartorial elegance for you, David, is that a quintessentially British thing? Is that something we're famous for around the world?
It should be something we're famous for, and I think it is, especially with sort of the Asian market. I don't think they love everything British. That's why we've been very successful. Burberry, Mulberry, Savile Row, all our car brands are very successful over in Asia, because everyone wants a part of that British heritage, and that's what we have here is the heritage. So Savile Row is something, again, we should be very proud of. But even Savile Row, half of the tailors there are now under Asian funding or Asian investment.
So has the Britishness gone out of it a bit?
I don't think the Britishness has gone out of it. It's a bit, I think if someone wants to fund that, that's great, because that keeps the jobs within Britain and the tailors on Savile Row. if no one British wants to invest in that, then of course we have to look elsewhere. But Savile Row is something we should be very, very proud of. And that started sartorial, that started tailor-made and bespoke suiting. So yes, it is still what I believe to be the best in the world.
You've won the competition on This Morning.
Yeah.
And then what kind of timeline is there between that and Dolce & Gabbana getting interested?
Dolce & Gabbana, I mean, we did the light blue in 2006. Then the commercial came out in 2007. So
that a 5-year period between winning the competition and that?
Yes. Yeah.
And is that when you're learning your trade?
I'm not saying I learnt my trade, but I looked at what worked within the industry and what didn't work. That was the time where I thought, why are men on a different level here than the female supermodels? And that's why I looked at people like Chrissy Turlington and Cindy Crawford, Kate Moss, Naomi Campbell, and thought, and looked at how they built their platforms, how they built their brands. And in 2006, 2007 is when started very much this celebrity culture. So a lot of the magazines were being at the front of the magazines, fashion magazines, were being taken over more like with celebrities and sports stars and people with a branding more than models. So I kind of saw that coming and thought that's what I need to do. And that's where it kind of started from there. But I mean, I've always had a love of suits, and yes, I sort of learnt the trade along the way until I've sort of got my own line with M&S now that is expanding every year, and that started at 22 pieces. And once we have our holiday wear and swimwear, which we've expanded by the end of May, it will probably would have expanded.
So this is to add to the loungewear collection? Yes,
we've got loungewear, underwear, then we did swimwear last year. We sold a pair of swim shorts every minute when that was launched, so it was a huge success. So now we have expanded that to a wider range of a full holiday wear. So which will be announced soon, and it's quite a big range. I helped design it, yes.
So what does that mean? When you say you helped design it, what's your input?
I have an input from everything along with that. So the cloths being used, the creatives, the mood boards.
What's a mood board?
The mood board. Yeah. Sorry, using fashion.
No, it's good,
now.
But just explain it to us.
Yeah, the mood board is what I perceive as how I want to see, how I want the brand to be for that season. How I want that certain element. So the swimwear, it was really where I kind of got the idea was from we're looking at images, and there were backstage images of Paul Newman and Steve McQueen during the shooting of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and that's where I got the inspiration for those. So it's very much an inspirational mood board. How I want it to be.
So it could be images, pictures, words.
Images, pictures, films, words. Absolutely.
Got it.
And that's how it starts, and that's where I are. So I'm very much on the creative side, and yes, then my visions go in, and we tweak and we fit and we make sure that it's the best that it can be. And that's the beauty of M&S. You're working, which I perceive as the best. It's why I wanted to work with M&S, because it's a British brand, of course, but they are the experts in underwear and loungewear, and we've slightly sort of gone off with them and done swimwear, which has proved successful. So we're just constantly expanding things to where I think there are gaps in the market and where I would like to sort of take my collaboration with them.
And have you seen Devil Wears Prada?
I have.
Yeah, so when the first garments come into you, right, and they get from mood board to made, you know what's coming there. Is there an Anna Wintour style dread? Do these people come in shivering, and the minute David Gandy says, no, it's rubbish, is there one of those?
I hope not. I hope not. Of course, it's got to be right, and anything with my name before I do want correct. So I think there's a lot of these collaborations around, and I think that M&S have been slightly shocked about how much I want to be involved. But I have a passion for it, and that's what I'm excited about here. So I didn't want to jump into something as complicated as sort of suiting or my own brand straight away. Mm-hmm. So it's a kind of I'm learning the trade as we go along. So and of course there's always changes to be had where we listen to the clients. And that's the great thing about one of the great things about social media and online now is we hear people's opinions. So once we're sort of following what people's reactions are to pieces, we can quickly change them and react to that very, very quickly and get it just right. But no, I mean, when it came to the underwear, my premium thing was premium fabric and the most comfortable underwear that you can wear. So we made sure that everyone was in them, everyone was testing them, everyone was pleased with them, and it's worked out very, very well.
As it's a late night show, I think I could probably ask you this, and I'm sure your mates have already asked you this already, but when you are modelling in underwear, are there any precautions you have to take?
Like what?
To make sure that the fit is right in the photograph, shall we say?
No, the designs are so good that I just no.
No spare socks needed.
You know what? After 15 years,
Yeah.
it's probably a very strange thing. So I'm kind of used to it. I've been doing sort of the swimwear since with Dolce Gabbana, and then their underwear since sort of 2006.
So it's no longer, because obviously to us, I've never posed in my pants, David. I'm sat here
Yep.
talking to you. I can't possibly imagine what it must be like to be in a room in just some very brief briefs, and I've seen the photos.
Yeah.
And how many people are in a shoot? Probably at least 10?
Yeah, maybe about
Yeah.
10 people around.
Is it not odd to start? I know you've been doing it for 15 odd years now.
Of course, it's odd to start with, but it's something in the end that you get very much used to, and that's a different. You have to have, and I'm probably quite naturally a shy person, so it's taken years to get used to that. And so many more people are confident, but yeah, there's many things. If you walk in, and I train very, very hard for the campaigns, very, very nutritionally aware.
Right.
So if I know I've done everything I can to be in the best shape I can for those shoots, it gives you a little bit of extra confidence.
So what's an average week in the life of David Gandy then? Are you a 3 meals a day man, or do you do little and often? Do you do 6 meals when you're training, but smaller meals? How does it work?
And that's the ideal method if you can. Unfortunately, the schedule doesn't always allow that.
Life
If
gets
I'm
in the
honest,
way.
It does a bit. So with constant travelling and just the busyness of life now at the end of the day with charities and designing and everything else, it would be nice to sit there and know I have a timetable that I could keep to, but I can't. So it varies every day. I mean, I think it's very, very simple. I mean, and there's so many small steps you can take, and one of them is just keep away from processed foods. They came out recently and said about sort of processed meats and processed porks and chorizo and everything is bad for you and causes cancer. Well, I mean, that was something that I sort of knew and read about many, many years ago. So why it's just sort of come out now is a mystery to me, I realise. But anything processed, anything white, anything in a packet, just sort of almost presume it's not particularly very good for you. So try and stay away from it.
Were you always so nutritionally aware?
Yeah, I was. I played a lot of sport. I
Right.
played a lot of cricket, rugby, football. I played every sport at school. So and then when I sort of university level as well. So yes, I was always very aware of what I was eating and drinking and stuff.
I heard rugby was the one, that although you played the
Well,
others.
actually, cricket was the one, really.
Really?
Yeah. I used to
Bowler,
train
batsman?
all-rounder.
Oh, look at that.
Although I would say bowler more than anything, so my
Yeah.
batting was a bit ropey at times.
What did you bowl?
I bowled a lot. I bowled about pretty medium to fast.
Right.
Hand.
Seam or
went
swing?
over. Swing. I learned to swing. We used to be in the nets at Essex and learn how to swing the ball a lot, actually. So it was always sort of good. But I captained my town, Billericay, and captained my school, and then trained and played a few times for Essex. So
Wow.
yeah, it was.
Were you on their books?
No, I was never on the books. No,
Right.
no, I was absolutely
Just
not.
trained with them?
Unfortunately not. But yes, but I was trained at Essex since I was probably, I think I was about 6, I think.
At university, was that a key decision then? Could it have been cricket one way, modelling the next, or not?
I wish almost that someone had pushed me with probably rugby and cricket, probably at school, to actually sort of encourage me instead of sometimes, not discourage me, but just a bit of help along the way would have been. Because you become a bit of a petulant teenager, and all the training that you did and all the good work, it sometimes falls out, and it needs a bit of a helping hand sometimes just to guide you along the right way. So,
Well, and going back to the earlier conversation, self-belief, you need someone to tell you can make it. don't you?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It's very, very, very true. And the sport I still love today, I still race cars, and I've just joined a superboat racing team, so I'm trying to learn how to ride superboats at the moment. We might be looking to break a cross-channel record very soon. So yeah,
What's a superboat then?
A superboat is equivalent as like a supercar or racing car. So it's an F1 car for the
seas.
For the seas, exactly.
Right.
We do about 120 miles an hour. We did about 124 up at Coniston recently.
Wow.
So which is quite a scary prospect on water. A scary prospect on land, but
Yeah.
on water it's even scarier.
When did you learn that?
I'm learning at the moment.
Right, okay.
We did the cows to Torquay to cows recently and broke the average record for that and won that. And it's called the Vector Martini Racing Team. And then so we went up to Coniston. I couldn't be part of the team then, and they broke a few more records. But the cross-channel record is quite a big undertaking. And so yes, we would like to get that record soon. So hopefully I'll be part of that team. I won't be driving. I'll be part of the navigation or throttle. So. But yes, slowly learning how to sort of ride these boats and control them, because obviously you can imagine at 127 miles an hour or 124 miles an hour, it's things can go wrong very quickly on sea.
Well, you better know which way left is then, hadn't you, at that speed?
You better know. And when you're upside down and on oxygen, you better know which way the exit's out as well. So I definitely better know my left and right. Well, I've done all the training for that, done all the dunk tests and the sea survival tests and everything, so yeah.
Do any of the modelling contracts that you hold have an issue with you pursuing these adrenaline-fuelled sports? Because they're mildly life-threatening, aren't they?
I usually tell them after I've done them, to be honest, so they find out, yes. As I did the Mille a few years back, which was a 1,000-mile classic car race around Italy, and we ended up sideways in a ditch at one point, and but I didn't even think anything of it. Sort of like we got the car sort of dragged up again, put some new tyres on, and drove around for the next 500 miles and didn't even think about I think if you think about it and think about the risks, you're more likely to freeze up. It's all about... so yes, I've raced cars for a while now, and somehow I've decided that the sea is the next thing. You know, I'm not scared of making mistakes, and that's the thing. That's what I always sort of teach my little nephews as well. Like one of my nephews just gone for his first tennis tournament and thought he was Andy Murray walking in, and then got absolutely thrashed. And I sort of taught him, I said, you know, when I was playing cricket, I used to get, hit around the ground sometimes, but you learn from it. And that's the way you learn. You never learn really from winning sometimes. You learn from making mistakes, but you have to learn from that. And as long as you learn from it and you progress, there's nothing wrong with getting things wrong. There's nothing wrong with failing sometimes. It's actually how you learn.
Someone I read today said you are the world's only male supermodel. Now, do you agree with that? Are you the world's only male supermodel?
No, I'm not at all.
Do we know any others? Would I know them?
I mean, people probably wouldn't know. They would know them within the fashion industry,
right?
But they probably wouldn't know them. They would know some outside of the fashion industry, but not really. And that's where I sort of looked at that and thought, why has no one ever sort of done that? There were always male supermodels within the fashion industry. They're always sort of the big 5 or the big 10 models, a bit like the girls had, but they were never known outside the fashion industry. So that's what I sort of spotted, and that's what you had to do, not just to compete with other models in the industry, but you had to do that to compete with the sportsmen and the celebrities and the film stars.
And what's the one thing you've done, you think, that's helped you to punch through then? Can you put your finger on it?
I mean, I'm pretty all down to light blue. I mean, that was the one that really sort of captured people's imaginations, and I'm not taking any credit for light blue. That was Mario Testino and Dolce Gabbana, but that's how I learnt to completely almost buck the trend. That's I was in an industry where it was about androgynous men. It was about very, very sort of skinny men at that point, the Dior guys. And then they did a campaign with a larger, sort of more classical looking guy, which was not in sort of, as we say, excuse the pun, not in fashion at the time. I learnt from them, and these were the days, before social media. So this was a campaign that, within 2 days of that campaign going out, 11 million people had been on the internet to see who it was, to look at the name, and that doesn't really exist anymore. If a campaign is out, it's usually with a famous face that already has a couple of million sort of social media followers.
Right.
So it wasn't as easy back then to create such a buzz. It took a hell of a creative, a hell of a campaign to really capture people's imagination. And that's what it did. So I got a lot of it within the industry. I got a lot of, when I was sort of saying what I want to achieve and how I want to achieve it and what I want to earn and everything else, the same as the fee for service. And people told me I was crazy. Every sort of male model I say, well, David, you're not going to be able to do that. You're absolutely mad. It was actually Tandy Anderson at Select, who has been my mentor of sort of like 15 years, who didn't think I was crazy, who actually went, right, if that's what you want to do, here's how we do it. And this is what you have to do.
Right, just quickly and lastly, can anyone look? I don't know if can you see me on a camera there? If you look to your left, lower down, can you see a guy in a red hoodie?
I can.
That's me.
See,
yeah.
sir.
So can anyone look good? I mean, look at me at the moment. It's not even loungewear, is it? It's lazy, if we're honest. Right, this is what I'm sporting today. So.
Considering I've just designed loungewear, I'm not going to say, look, we'll have to get you some pieces, though. No, okay. Not at all. So I think this is what people ask, but there's no wrongs and rights. I will never criticise someone for wearing what they want. You have to be comfortable. You have to be confident, and that's why I always say to men, are you comfortable in that? And if they say yes, then put it off. Then that's fine. If you're, that's what it's about. It's about having that confidence. It's about not listening to what other people think all the time, and that's what I try to tell men.